I'm letting the team down, boys, but that was a very, very crispy dual crack there from the boys. All right. Welcome back, everyone, to the BTP podcast, where we go beyond the program with everything bodybuilding, coaching, and lifestyle. A little slip of the tongue there. My name is Pang. I'm joined by my co-host, Timsy, and Mr. Dual Pro Natural Bodybuilder, coach, and father, Nick Hanna. Welcome, mate.
Thank you very much for having me. It's an honor. Is this, am I your first guest on the show?
You are the inaugural guest on the show. I think we had a question like 2 weeks ago. Are you going to get guests on the show? And at the time, this was not planned. And I was like, it's time to get one.
There you go. No, it's an honor to be on, first guest. And the fact that you've already made it to this is episode number 7. You've done a great job already to nail down 6 episodes, get a bit of a follow-in. So yeah, can't wait to shoot the shit with you lads.
Thanks, bro.
Yeah. That's what we're here for. Now, a little bit of background on yourself, Nick. Obviously, you and Timsy have been mates for a couple of years now. So give us a bit of background how you guys met and yeah.
Yeah, so maybe even Timsy needs to refresh my memory just
I was going to say, I wonder if you actually remember the first time we met, but I was following Nick before, like it was like one of the first people I followed on Instagram relating to bodybuilding. And we actually met at Joseph Menzel's workshop in, I think, was it Coburg? They used to have his shop, the team. Yeah, so we actually met there, and like I was fangirling hard, like obviously meeting Joseph Menzel for the first time, but then obviously meeting Nick Hanna, I'm like, oh my God, this guy's real.
Now, which one were you more fangirling for?
Definitely Nick, because I think like I felt like I knew Nick a bit more on a personal level, because obviously, you know, he posted a lot more on his Instagram stories relating to his training and stuff like that. So definitely Nick. And then I moved across to Powerhouse and Nick was there as well. And I guess the friendship just blossomed from there.
Absolutely. Yeah. I didn't even know that, to be truthful.
That's great.
That's great. I'll just for myself real quick.
But no, that makes sense. It would have been probably 2019, give or take. And then obviously I think it was that you prepped in 2020. And then shortly after that, 2021 is probably, you know, the post COVID era, when, you know, I then prepped in 2021, and then, yeah, we were probably a bit more frequent at the gym at the same hour. Yeah. So that would have been where it sort of, you know, went from there.
100%.
Perfect, mate. And for those that don't know, me and Nick did actually compete against each other. He might not even remember this, but when he got his NBA pro card, I was on stage next to him, and I did love seeing his content for the next 6 months, which was just him dwarfing me when we were standing next to each other. Every single reel that popped up was just you hitting the front double, and I'm like, shit.
No, that's yeah, sorry about that.
That's all right, mate. Anything for the views.
I've thought that recently in some of my content, or some of the content that's come out even from the more recent shows where maybe I haven't won and I've been standing next to certain people. I'm like, yeah, that's great.
Use that one. All righty, mate. Well, let's get into the bulk of the episode. So the reason that we actually asked you to come on was, you know, you have just completed a most recent season, and your coaching business is absolutely thriving at the moment, as well as you have a young son. I do believe you do have another one on the way, or another.
Yep.
One.
One. Yep. Can confirm it's only one.
Sick, awesome. That's good to hear. So let's get into it, mate. Tell us a bit about like how you got into the gym initially, and then how that progressed to competing over time.
Yep. Good one. So it probably all started, you know, I grew up, and like a lot of us, we grow up playing lots of sport. So for me, it was football and cricket. And, you know, throughout that duration, I'm not going to say good at football or cricket, but to a point where I was sort of 17 playing senior football, A-grade senior football as a 17-year-old in year 12. So, and then towards the back end of that year in 2013, I actually did my ACL playing football towards the back end of that year. So it's not uncommon that people get into the gym through virtue of injuries, rehab and all of that. So off the back of that injury, it obviously meant that I had to take a year off football. And then that got me into the gym. So it meant that, you know, I had to fill that void as a result of not being able to play. So I was in the gym. You could say in the gym, but was I really in the gym actually training? You know, I think we've all been there those initial years. Yeah. So, you know, things like, you know, how I was actually training. The reason I went to the particular gym I went to was because my mum went there. So that's how I started out at a sort of a health club kind of situation. So that progressed, and I trained then therefore for a year. I'm doing rehab. I did eventually come back to playing football. However, it just wasn't the same. Coming back off the back of an ACL injury, your knee, your hamstring. So for anyone that doesn't know, with an ACL, they actually take a hamstring graft out of your hamstring to create the new ACL. So in my left hamstring, there's actually like, if you run your finger down it, and even when I flex and get really lean, there's actually like a big hole in my left hamstring. So that's why I've got shit hamstrings, because I had an ACL. And then came back to playing football for a couple of years. Had a shoulder reconstruction as well off the back of that at the end of 2015. Still played for another year after that, but it just wasn't the same. You get injured, you're constantly worried about that. And at the same time, I was studying at uni and felt like, I just wanted a bit more time to myself, playing football all day on a Saturday, being at the club. It just wasn't, maybe that element of drinking and being at the club all the time probably wasn't quite what resonated with me. So then obviously I was in the gym more frequently. So then gave up football and then thought, well, I was in the gym and then transitioned to more a bodybuilding gym. That was where the OG Derrimut Thomastown back in the day. So what was that? Maybe 2016, over 10 years ago. I joined up there and was training there. And then, seeing other people compete. So a few mates in the gym had just recently competed, I think at the back end of 2016. So then that, the natural progression from there is sort of like, okay, well, what's next? You get into the gym, what's next? And I see a lot of people nowadays in the same situation where you're sort of like, I've given up my competitive sport. What's next? So hence why I got with the coach back in 2017. Was absolutely not in the right position to be, prepping for a show, but we did it anyway and stepped on stage for the first time in 2017. And funnily enough, Martin Raffaello, who obviously is the WMBF president, we stood up against each other, next to each other then. So that was his second season, I believe. And yeah, we stood right next to each other. And he brought up those photos when I saw him a couple of months ago at the WMBF. And I was like, yeah, let's put those away and never see them again. So yeah, that's where it cottoned on from there. And then I think probably the love for bodybuilding off the back of that just progressed even further. Like I never had even posted about competing or bodybuilding or anything like that until probably, transition from 2017 to 2018 into 2019 into that prep there where I was posting a bit more about it, bit more about my journey and seeing the progression from, maybe the first season to the second season. And I think I'd self-coached that, off season and that second prep. So I was able to document a bit more of that journey and really enjoy the process. So it sort of really cottoned on from there. And, here we are, almost 10 years later. So, which is pretty exciting.
Now, when you mentioned your first show in 2017 and you said you might not have been in the position to compete at that stage. Do you want to unpack that for us? Because I think that's something that we've obviously talked about on our pod of being ready to compete and what does that mean? Can you unpack that for us of how you felt like you weren't ready in that time?
Yeah. So, for example, like my training was absolutely not in a good spot to be, competing. I was still learning how to train at that point in time. I was still learning how to count calories. I was still, learning how to, track your training, track your diet, all of that kind of stuff. I just didn't really understand that, going back 12 months prior to that in 2016, I actually went on a solo Europe trip as a 21-year-old and and dieted for that one on my own. And it was literally just me doing like hours and hours of Stairmaster, steps, output, all of that, and getting pretty damn lean, but had no muscle to show for it. So I didn't understand what it truly meant to train hard, actually build muscle. I didn't know what that looked like. I just wanted abs. That was probably where I came from. I just wanted abs. So in terms of being in a position to prep, is your training in a really good spot? Have you spent a substantial amount of time in a caloric surplus and actually know what that feels like to, eat, train, sleep, and live like a bodybuilder as opposed to getting into that routine in a contest prep? I see that far too often, when people come to me, from coaching side of things is that we don't want to be learning those things at the start of a contest prep. We want to be, ready to go and, hit the ground running in a contest prep, as opposed to you learning how to actually train properly, learning how to track a calorie, learning how to eat properly. Yeah. So that's probably where it comes to setting yourself up for success before the contest prep has even started.
I was going to ask too, you said that your first one you had a coach, your second season you didn't, and then obviously you joined on with AJ Morris. What was like the biggest reason and like shift in terms of, I've prepped myself to stage, I did all right, but like what was the reason behind actually going and finding a coach and getting that last little bit of help?
Yep. So I did, obviously my first season was with a coach. My second and third season was not with a coach.
And you prepped yourself all the way through for those two?
Yep. Yeah. So I'll never forget. So the 2021 prep that was the second prep I did on my own. That was the COVID prep where everything got pushed back. All of a sudden we're 3 weeks out. Oh no, you're 10 weeks out. You're 12 weeks out. Imagine that right now. How many weeks out are you?
Yeah, I'm 3 weeks out on the dot.
Yeah. So imagine if we just said, oh, nah, you're actually 10 weeks out.
That's all right. Feet up. We'll be right.
Refeed. What are we doing? Are we going out for a feed?
Can I get a refund on all my flights and stuff? Thanks, boys.
So, that process there got extremely challenging towards the back end. That turned into sort of a 40-week prep, where you can't critically analyze yourself. And I say this to a lot of people: if you're experienced, you can probably prep yourself until about 6 to 8 weeks out. But then you get to a point and it's like, well, it's actually not just about, pulling calories and increasing cardio. It's just managing those variables and understanding what that looks like. So having that second set of eyes, in my view, was just essential. And we worked together for probably 18 months before we even started a prep together, which was, extremely beneficial in terms of my physique and leveling things up. Because I almost felt like I'd gotten to a point on my own, and I just needed something else. I needed someone else from not necessarily an accountability, but just to take things a different set of eyes. You might be training a particular way, and I see this actually quite often. People will be training a particular way for a period of time and get stuck in their ways. Going, spinning their wheels effectively, but they don't know it. You look at someone's physique and you say, well, maybe your quads don't look very good. And this was actually me at the time. My quads aren't very good. And it's probably because of the way that you train, but you don't know that and you don't know what to do to rectify that. So having a second set of eyes say, hold on, what you're doing is probably trash. Let's just rectify that and whatnot. So again, the second set of eyes in a contest prep was, instrumental. And yeah, absolutely, set me up, drastically well.
I think especially when you get into a bodybuilding physique-based sport, like it's not like you're just training for enjoyment or you're training for general health. Like when you're getting into the nitpicky details of everything, I feel like we've all had that light bulb moment from someone else who said, that's why this certain body part looks shit. Like, mine was my back training. I had someone say, yeah, your back training sucks and you got no lower lats. I'm like, hey, that makes sense.
And like, that's a great example as well. So, like in terms of my back training, back in maybe 2020 to 2022, I got super, super strong deadlifting, right? But my hamstrings, my glutes, and my back were all shit. And it's just like, well, that clearly didn't correlate for me. It does for some people, but it didn't for me. And I got really strong at squatting because obviously during that period, maybe we're just training in garages and we didn't have access to gyms. So we were squatting all the time. Got super strong, but I didn't have any quads. And just with the way that my body is, my squats ended up turning into more like a glute dominant, hamstring dominant squat. So therefore I was actually getting no quad involvement. Hence why my quads didn't grow. So funny that.
It's not just about moving load from A to B. It's how you move it.
Yeah, spot on. I think there's a time and place in terms of building up that base level of strength. I'm not saying it was not important or didn't have its place, but equally at the same time, understand why you're moving something from A to B.
That's it. Now, some would refer to you as a veteran of the game, Nick. Done a fair few preps, couple of pro cards, couple of pro wins, which has been absolutely amazing. Do you feel as though now you're a veteran of the game? Obviously, you were rattling off some of the dates and years that you'd been in the gym and your first prep and whatnot. Do you feel as though you're a veteran? If so, when did that sort of feeling come along?
I'm going to say no, to be truthful. I still feel like I just have so much left to learn, do, and achieve in this sport that I'll always be a student of the game.
Yeah.
Yes, I've been around the traps and I know lots of people, and maybe, other people know me just through virtue of me being around for a long period of time and doing numerous shows. But yeah, when people, I see people on stage who are, 20, 21, I'm just like, oh shit, yep, right. My first show was when you were in probably primary school. So,
Scary
so I wouldn't.
thoughts.
It's a very scary thought. But equally at the same time, in terms of natural bodybuilding, I still think there's just so much left in this. Most of the, the top level natural bodybuilders, what are they? Mid, late 30s, if not 40? Like there's just so much left in this game that I just see so much positive on the horizon that my body's feeling healthy. I feel great. My motivation is absolutely sky high and nothing really changes.
Yeah.
And it's funny, I was actually having this conversation with my coach, AJ, off the back of the shows, recently. It's like, sure, we maybe didn't, achieve certain pro cards that we might have wanted to set out to this season, but it's like, actually nothing changes when I go back home or get back into the gym. We just do the same thing over again.
Yeah.
And I'm still just as motivated. That doesn't change. So it's an interesting thought about, how long you've been in the game. And again, I'm just stacking those years and that's what it's all about, I think. The longer you're in the game, the better you can be.
It's refreshing to hear the fact that like your genetic potential is still not reached yet. Like I hate when people train for 3 years and say, "Oh, I've reached my natural cap." I've got to start taking PEDs or anything to continue to build. Well, Nick is quite literally living proof that progress can still be made and will still be made. So it's very refreshing.
Yeah, without glazing you up too much in the early goings, Nick. We'll glaze you up by the end, but not in the early stages of the pod. I love seeing your progress pictures from like the first show to now, not only for the grainy photo footage and the shitty quality of the stage at that time,
Or the
but
hair.
the hair's good as well, actually. But the progress of not only the amount of size put on, but just the conditioning levels and the evolution each and every single year. So showing that not only can you compete semi-often, I would say, you're not one of the ones that's there every single year, but you're taking time away, but there is improvements that can be made over a long stretch of time.
Absolutely, yeah. So that's the one thing that people probably don't realize is that you look at a stage shot, 2, 3, 4 years difference, that's where you're going to see the differences, not, from here to, the progress photos that you take in 2 months' time. Like you're not noticeably going to see those differences. So yeah, seeing those comparisons, I think is really helpful to know what is possible, but equally at the same time, know that it does take time. It's
like just on the back of that, I for one have used like you as an example for myself in terms of like, he's looked like that to start with, and this is where he's ended up. It is achievable. Like it is something that is attainable. It's not something like, oh, I can never get to that. It is something that is very, very much attainable if you put in the work and consistent with it. So, fangirl moment number 2 over here.
there'll be a few more by the end of the episode. It's all right. Now, we will come back to your most recent season so we can get a bit of a recap on that. But I wanted to transition a little bit into coaching. So you are obviously an online coach. Give us a bit of a history and a background on your history of coaching, how you got into it, how long you've been doing it. Are you doing it full time now as well?
Yep, good question. So the answer is no, I'm not doing it full time. Will it be in the future? Not sure. It's a hope for me, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. It's obviously got to make financial sense, to be honest.
Yeah.
In terms of how I got into it, so off the back of competing, I think it was after my 3rd season in 2021, I got hit up, I hate saying this, but I got hit up a few times from people to say, hey, can you help me? Or, when you make transformations over time. People obviously hit you up and say, hey, can you help me out? Can you coach me? And that kind of thing. I had no idea what I was doing, right? So, and I always pushed back and said, sorry, I'm not like, that's not me. I don't really help people. I don't coach people. Go look this direction, or go, here's some few people that I know are really good coaches. Go talk to them. Anyway, and then it just started to build up a fair bit that, it just came, there was actually numerous people that were hitting me up. And I for so long, I was just like, nah, I'm not skilled enough. I don't have the knowledge. I don't have the expertise. As opposed to maybe doing one prep or one show and then all of a sudden you're an online coach. But that's another tangent for another day.
We'll be here all day if we start
I was
pushing on
going to
that.
say,
Yeah,
we touched on that last week. We had to wrap it up real quick.
So then I think I might have taken, I'm going to say the back end of 2022 was when I'd sort of first started taking on first clients. I think that's right, around sort of the second. So it's probably been about 4 years I started taking on some clients. And I never really advertised it at all. Like, it was not something I'd posted about. It was nothing like that. And I actually had my first prep client in 2023. So Lockie, who stepped on stage in 2023. So we started working together in, I think, December 22/Jan 23. And we prepped for, the season B at the time, or season C now, shows around September, October of that year, which was awesome. So obviously I prepped him through all of that process in 2023. And then 2024 came around and, started picking up a few more clients through, that contest preparation itself. But probably where it really kicked off was at the end of the 2024 prep. Off the back of that, I sort of said, okay, well, let's sort of knuckle down and actually tell people that I'm taking on clients, which is funny that, you actually probably, I was thinking, hey, clients will just come to me, but I wasn't actively going out and trying to seek clients. So I'd always had a bit of a book of clients, but it was just, all right, let's sort of build this up a little bit. So then probably the end of 2024, start of 2025, I started really pushing things a fair bit. Getting a few more clients on board, which was awesome. And then, that had built up through 2025, which was huge. And then coming into then this year where, obviously had a few, I think I had 3 people step on stage in season A this year. Had one on stage at season C last year. And then coming up to then now season C this year, I've got 6 clients on stage. 4 of which are in Melbourne, one's in Queensland, one's in WA, and then already for then season A next year, I think I've probably got 4 or 5 potentially for season A next year. So it's slowly built its way up whereby, I say this, that I probably actually tried to actively go out and get clients and actively say that. And it's terrible to say, but it probably helped that maybe I won a pro card or things like that, or I did quite well in my own right stepping on stage, which then helps, promote the business, and it helps from a promotional side of things. But constantly trying to upskill, improve my coaching service. And that's what I've, really been focusing on the last probably 6 months, is not necessarily volume. It's like, who are the right clients that I want to work with? I'm obviously going to work with, maybe some Gen Pop clients, but equally at the same time, I want to work with contest prep clients or people who want to step on stage. That's where and particularly first-time competitors. So for anyone that's seen my content, it's all like, I want to work with first-time competitors because I know what it's like. I know that they've got no idea what they're doing. They don't know what the tanning process looks like. They don't know what the peaking process looks like, which is why my content is sort of tailored around first-time competitors wanting to step on stage. Trying to help out that demographic, or even if there's someone who wants to step on stage, but maybe not for another couple of years, I'll try and coach them through that process. So there's been some people that I've been working with for, 12 plus months, and maybe we'll step on stage in another 12 months or 18 months or whatever that might look like, whenever the time's right. We'll go through the various phases, we'll pack on sides, as opposed to you come on board and we're starting to prep immediately. That's sort of not the way that I'd like to do things. There's certain people that can, but for the most part, the clientele that I'm liking or, trying to attract, they're not typically like that. So I'd imagine the contest prep clients over the coming years will definitely build up, and I'm pretty pumped for the upcoming season, which is going to be a big one.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's unreal.
That was definitely one of the things that I noticed of like you pumping out, like you said, at the end of your 2024 prep content was pumping out, and you did a really good job of niching down and identifying who you wanted to work with. What went into that decision? Because that is something that often gets talked about in the coaching realm by mentors is, finding a niche that works for you. And often it's person who is maybe like the step down from where you currently are, just so you're not overreaching and trying to educate someone who's more educated than you. What went into that decision of being like, I want to work with first timers and I want to work with contest prep clients majority of the time?
It's because that's what I enjoy. That's what gets me out of bed is to say, hey, you're going to get in the best shape possible and step on stage. That honestly is what, drew me to that, as opposed to, this is more a marketing side of things, is I feel like if you're not targeting one demographic or one niche, you're actually then targeting no one. It's sort of like I'm an online coach for whoever.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, then how do I know that I'm applicable for you? So if there's someone who wants to step on stage, they know that I'm a coach who would help them. As opposed to, I do help those, but I also help, Joe Blogs down the road just get a little bit leaner or lose some body fat. Like that doesn't really interest me as much. Of course, I do help out a few people who are in that realm, but it's more so just the people that I want to work with as well, in terms of that kind of niche, that demographic. And that's what interests me, being around bodybuilding shows. I want to be there on show day with a team of clients. Like that's what I want to see. Like you've both been to numerous shows yourself. I want to be that person who's at the show and's got 10 clients competing.
Yeah.
Like that'd be fucking awesome. Like that's what I'm hoping to achieve in due course in the coming years. So yeah, that's the thing. And what's also been cool recently is not just people coming to me that are first time competitors, but people that have actually competed before. Or even, maybe people that are, a bit more knowledgeable than a first-time competitor. So different sort of, clientele, but equally, contest prep realm kind of clients, which has been pretty cool.
I just wanted to touch on that content thing as well. Like I know you said that obviously, winning a pro card, may have helped, drive a bit more sales, but I do want to say that, from someone that follows you and the content that you were putting out, you were always on my phone. And it wasn't just like shit content. It was like good information just consistently flooding my system. And I'm like, if I didn't have a coach, I'm like, well, shit, maybe I should join Vic. Like it was really, really top quality, like content that was, again, targeted towards your niche and first time competitors. And, it was kind of refreshing listening to it and going, hang on a minute, I remember this. Like these are the feelings that I had my first time. So it was very well targeted, man.
And think about the content side of things in terms of not like no one's going to generally buy from you from the first point of contact of seeing your content.
Yeah.
They're going to need to see the repetition. It's pretty rare that someone will follow you, not know you from a bar of soap, and then be like, oh yeah, I want to jump on you with with you as a coach. That's pretty rare. And what I'm cognizant of in terms of the business, in terms of growing the business, is signing up contest prep clients is probably going to be much slower compared to maybe Gen Pop clients and building out a list of people. So like you say, Timsy, is that, people are probably with their coach for a long period of time. Like how long have you been with Scotty for? Like a number of years?
5 years, 5-6 years now.
Yeah. I know that, like Jordan, how long have you been with him for?
Yeah, don't ask that question.
not as long, but either way, like you'll be with him for is that a sore point?
Let's hope so.
So yeah, people are less reluctant to move around and coach, and people are a lot more sticky. But that also is a positive. So like, it's pretty rare for me to have people churn and leave because they're going to be with you for 12 months. They're going to be with you for 2 years, especially if you deliver a really good service. So I'm not going to say unlike Gen Pop clients, which, maybe they do 12 weeks and they've achieved their goal and it's like, all right, that's me done. Again, it's just a different demographic and a different person that you're delivering a service to.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Well, let's get into the fatherhood side of things and also a little bit of balance relating to coaching and everything. So obviously you are a dad, you are an online coach, you are a bodybuilder, and your day job, is it an accountant?
Yep.
How you balance it all, mate? Walk me through what your week looks like and how you have adjusted to balancing everything in your life now that you are a dad as well.
Yeah. How do I balance things? Not very well at times.
It's the general answer, isn't it? I don't think anyone's ever not said that.
It's forced balance.
and I don't often like that term balance because I like to think of the word harmony, and not everything can be in balance all the time. So everything has a bit of a pendulum, a push and a pull. So as an example, more recently, I obviously had the contest prep where that took a huge amount of focus in my life. And maybe at certain points, maybe it meant that I probably didn't pay as much attention or as much focus on the business side of things, and I couldn't pump out as much content, maybe because I was too focused on that. Whereas there's been other points and phases in my life or over the last sort of 2 years where it's like, oh no, I've spent more on that because my bodybuilding journey's just turned on in the background.
Yeah.
But in terms of how I manage my week, pretty promptly, I think it was just around the time that Finley was born, about 16 months ago, I transitioned to training in the mornings. So I was always an afternoon trainer, training between 5 and 7 p.m. That ain't going to cut it when you've got a child, when therefore you'd come home and he's already asleep and you just don't see him for a day. That wasn't going to cut it. So therefore I'm training first thing in the morning before work. So, the other thing that I like to utilize is what am I doing with my, I say, quote unquote, free time, and making sure that I'm not, I say not wasting time, but, like what are you doing in train trips? What are you doing on, the time that you're doing your steps, or what are you doing when you're doing your cardio? Are you just scrolling Instagram, or are you planning content ahead of time? Are you replying to client messages? Are you responding to emails? Like, what are you doing in those periods? Yes, they can obviously be
multitasking, habit stacking.
Yeah, and I think you find that routine and whatnot that suits. The other thing is obviously, from a family perspective, how do you prioritize that as much as possible? Now, I'm not saying it's going to be perfect, but at least having that, blanket time between maybe 5:30 and about 7-ish, where it's like, okay, well, that's where phone's down, socials are off, messages can wait till the next day or later that evening. And that's where you can dedicate that time to do that. Would I say I'm the best at it all the time? Probably not. But at the same time, you've got to sort of make it work. As an example, pretty frequently I've got, whether it's new client calls, whether I've got, calls around that time, that's when I'm free, around 7:30. Most nights I've probably got a call at that hour or something like that hour. And it just means that you've got to, fit your schedule accordingly. So yeah, it's a challenge, but then equally at the same time on the weekends, that's where it's like, okay, do all your client check-ins, you train early, you try and spend as much time with your family as possible, you meal prep for the week, you get everything sorted. But it's something that I've bedded down this routine for such a long period of time with respect to training, all of that it doesn't feel like it's too much of an effort.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like it's a, Groundhog Day every single day. It's just sort of okay, go through the motions and tick the boxes that you need to tick. And it's a terminology that I use with people is think about everything in your life as either a plastic ball or a glass ball. So if you drop it, is it going to break or is it going to bounce back and it'll be all good? So obviously, when I think about it, like nailing your meals and all of that, your training, all of that, like, is it a glass ball or is it a plastic ball? And if you don't do it for the day, what's going to happen? And then I often reflect back on that. So an interesting thought.
That's really good, actually.
That's mad. Put a copyright on that one real quick.
Make it a bit better than that. But that's sort of, it's something that I often talk about. So
no, I like it. And then in terms of your work schedule, particularly, like how are you balancing having a full-time job and then online coaching at the same time?
Yep. So really focusing on what's important at every given point in time. Can a meeting be shorter? Can it be more efficient? Can we spend lunchtime, train journeys, post work, doing things that are going to set myself up? Can I clear all my emails when I'm doing something else? Can I, I don't know, respond to messages, doing all of that. So not saying it's easy, but, how do we minimize quote unquote downtime or dead time? That's effectively how I've tried to do that. Again, is it perfect? No. But trying to find ways to navigate that. And in fact, I've got it right next to me as a really good plug here. If you've ever used this, can you see that? A brick.
Oh, what is that?
It's a physical thing here. So what it is it's connected to your phone, and you can block out, like obviously on your phone how you can limit social media usage.
Oh, yeah.
How easy is it to click it and just like it's on your phone that you can click it and be like, nah, ignore it, and I'm all good to go. This is something that you physically have to tap your phone, open the app, the brick app, tap it, so you can get access to things.
Okay.
And you can obviously program what apps there is. So like Instagram's a pretty common one. So like I'll be on here, like my brick on my phone, as an example, will be sitting there at, 18 hours. I haven't been on Instagram for 18 hours. It's like, I don't need to be on it because I'll brick it and I'll go on there once a day, maybe twice a day, post some stuff, respond to messages, and then get off it. Because you think about the amount of time that you waste on it, it's pretty friggin' wild.
Yeah.
And I reckon I got this for Christmas, but I probably didn't start utilizing it until probably the end of May. And you realize that all of a sudden, you might have scrolled on Instagram for an hour in a day. Now my phone is unbricked for maybe 5 to 10 minutes a day.
Yeah.
And the clarity that you get in your mind from waking up in the morning, what's the first thing you do? Check social media, do all those kind of things. So all of a sudden, instead of checking social media, I'm looking at Wordle on my phone and trying to, do Wordle and like the New York games. Like how much better is that for your peace of mind than, seeing what someone else has done? And that also comes back to, from a coaching and a prep as an athlete perspective, is I don't want my content or my prep itself to get clouded by what am I seeing on social media. And what other people are posting, physique shots, how people are approaching their content, like that. I shouldn't be influenced by that. In that respect, I want to have that sort of clarity in my sort of life.
100%. That's awesome. I mean, you see the ads for it all the time. They're always in your face, and I'm gonna fangirl once again and get one. Why not?
And even just you won't realize it, but the amount of time that you'll open your phone and click the Instagram app without even thinking.
Yeah, just without hesitation, 100%.
And you actually how I knew that the brick had worked was that I'd forgot to re-brick my phone at some point, maybe a couple of weeks ago, and I didn't even realize it because I didn't even open my phone to try and check Instagram.
Yeah,
even though I could have, but I didn't because it wasn't there. So
did notifications still come through or
no? Well, I never have Instagram notifications anyway, but
so it's just completely blank. Yeah, that's bad.
Yeah, and even like the initial anxiety of even leaving the house without this, the freedom that you got mentally,
it's awesome.
It'll pay off. Anyway, we're plugged there. There's no discount code, so go get one if you want one. If you don't get one.
Maybe you got to organise one, mate.
Get onto it.
I'll send them this afterwards.
All right. So before we get into your most recent season, mate, and get back to bodybuilding, I thought I would ask a question because obviously a few of our listeners are younger coaches or people thinking about getting into coaching. We've spent a bit of time talking about coaching, education, and everything like that. Can you give us some background on any courses you might have done, any forms of education you have, or any mentors that you had as well in terms of your coaching process?
Yep. So I actually did my Cert 3 and 4 in 2017 or 18, give or take.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's been a while since I did that. Not knowing that I was going to subsequently be an online coach, but it was sort of at that point I was just like, I love training. I love bodybuilding. I'm going to do this I love training. I'm going to do this at the same time. And then subsequently post that, the amount of courses I've done, notwithstanding, like things like J3U University, like I've gone through that whole thing probably 3 times. I know that like the NBW, like they've got numerous courses on there that I go through, even repeatedly watch those kind of pieces of content because I know how helpful they are. as well as the amount of, what else has there been? There's been the JPS conferences that I've attended numerous of those, which has been really helpful. And just seeing, the amount of people that will, present at those kind of conferences, think people like Eric Helms, Brandon Kempter, Richard Collins, like all of those kind of people I look up to. And that probably leads on to the next question in terms of like mentors or people that you aspire to, be like. Some of those kind of people, I will take so much valuable information and listen to everything that I hear from them, whether it's podcasts, social media posts and things like that, because I think they're just invaluable.
Yeah. And just for anyone who's not aware of those associations and education platforms, JPS, J3U, MBW, they're all contest prep related courses, aren't they, Nick?
Yes, but not just contest prep. There's modules on training, nutrition, recovery, fatigue, like there's just everything, and they go nitty gritty in these. Like these are like uni, like subjects effectively, like that goes through so much content. So I would recommend either or any of those, for anyone in this game. Just jump on. Yeah, it's do that instead of scrolling Instagram. Next time you're doing your cardio, just watch those. Like they're invaluable. I even did that on some of the more recent plane journeys. Is just try and watch a bit of that, as opposed to watching something else. I think it's quite valuable.
What, you mean you're not watching 10,000 calorie eating challenges and stuff while you're doing cardio? What?
Not quite.
You know who Eric the Electric is, Nick?
Absolutely, I know who Eric the Electric was.
You're missing out, Julian.
Nah, I'm sorry, guys. I reckon I'm not missing out. I reckon I'm the smart one.
I actually...
Oh, that guy. As soon as you did the pose. Yes. Okay. I'm with you now.
Right there.
Yeah. Okay. Now I'm with you. I know who it is now.
I actually don't know I could actually watch one of his videos anymore. Like I would watch him maybe 2018, 19, that kind of period. But like I actually it actually grosses me out watching it now. Like this is like even in prep, like there's no way I could watch that shit.
Yeah. I think we spoke about it a few episodes ago, but like I watched one of his videos like, a few weeks back or whatever, and it made me physically sick. Like I had to turn it off. I'm like, I can't watch someone put this food down. Like I'm already struggling in the offset. I can't do it. It's just...
Yeah, but put you in a contest prep setting though, Timsy, and you'd be loving it.
Yeah, well, you learn from every single one. And I think, going into the next contest prep, I think food focus will be a little bit more minimal. So...
Yes, I can definitely say that my strategy has gone a lot better this time, and it's helped significantly. Let's get into your most recent season, Nick. So give us a bit of a rundown on how many shows you did, where you did them. Obviously, we can see from the shirt that you're wearing that you did do an international IFBB Pro or IFBB natural show. The first bit I wanted to start with was, why the secret prep?
Ninja.
People will say, like, how do I put this? It wasn't intentionally a secret prep. So I obviously competed in 2024 off the back of that. I went into an off season, into a growing phase for the entire 2025 year. And then as scheduled, pretty much the start of January, it was pretty much January 1st or maybe around that time, 2026, I entered a bit of a dieting phase, and that was going to go about 12 weeks, give or take. And that was rounding out around, I'm going to say about Easter time, maybe, give or take. I can't remember what Easter was. It actually might have been Easter time. Actually, I do remember that. Yeah, it was about Easter time. So that was when Finley's birthday was, early April. And that's when we also found out that Olivia was pregnant, and we were expecting another child due in November. So then the original thought process was that, before this had happened, we thought, well, I'll compete in 2027, prep for 2027, and potentially go to sort of Worlds at the back end of 2027. But then I sort of thought, prepping with 2 young children, probably not going to be the easiest thing. So I said, hey, we're pretty, we've got pretty lean. What do you reckon we just sort of push the envelope a little bit now? Put the foot down. Maybe start prepping. Let's think about it. So I think straight after Easter, we entered maybe a diet break for a week, and we thought, yeah, why not? Let's do some shows in mid-year. So I think the initial shows were the IFBB ones, like the NPC ones in July. So we sort of had those penciled in, and I can't remember the exact time frame from there. It might have been like 12, 14 weeks maybe out from those shows, give or take. And then a couple of weeks later, I was just like, oh, I'm actually heading up to Gold Coast for NBA because I had a client competing. Maybe we just sort of put the foot down a little bit more and see if we can do that. And then I was like, there's also WNBF in Melbourne the week after that. Maybe we also do that as well. So we thought, fuck it, let's do those. So there was never a point where I was just like, oh, this is a secret prep or anything, like, let's like keep this under wraps. It was sort of like, oh, well, I was just dieting. And then all of a sudden, maybe we're like 4 weeks out. And it's like, okay. It's a weird thought to think about that you're just like.
You know you've made it when you can just get into a mini cut phase and you go, oh, I'm pretty lean. I might just like keep going a little bit.
Yeah, we were pretty happy with how things were like tracking along, and I was like, sure, why not? And it was just a weird feeling. I think I distinctly remember this. So we were down in Colac, which is where Olivia's family's from, and it was that Easter period, and that was also Finley's first birthday. And I'd gotten my check-in back from AJ, and I was at the gym. I was at the gym training. I think I was doing my morning cardio or something at the time. And I was posing in the gym down there. And I was like, shit, I reckon I'm in a prep now. Like, just like that trigger in my mind. I'm just like, I don't know if I've actually fully grasped that thought yet. Because, up until that point, it was like, oh, I'm in a bit of a diet. Nothing, never thought anything of it. And then all of a sudden, oh yeah, maybe we are prepping. So then fast forward to, actually no one knew about it, obviously, aside from Olivia. My parents knew, but like, did they realize that I was prepping versus like just in a diet and eating my normal foods? Like, they wouldn't have even known what I was doing. Even up until close to the time, they're like, oh, like, are you competing? Like, are you like, oh, you're right, you're stepping on stage. Like, oh, cool. Yep. Great.
Yeah. I was going to just jump in real quick here. Like, it was funny, like at Buff's show in Melbourne for the NBA show, I remember obviously seeing you backstage and stuff. And I remember like looking at your face and going, his face is starting to dig in a little bit. Like this is something going. And then obviously, being working with NBA, I have, the client list in terms of who's competing at nationals. When I saw your name, I'm like, this can't be right. Like this ain't right.
Yeah. Oh, you got it spoiled.
Yeah. Well, yeah, essentially. Cause I get the list of trying to work out who's going on stage, how many people are, I need to work out. And I saw in the pro show that Nick Hanna's name was there. And I'm like, yes.
And I think you might have texted me actually on the day of Rego maybe and just said, I can't remember what you said.
I was like, is this fucking real? Is like, this is not wrong? Like,
but actually the other interesting part was, and this was actually what I was actually worried about was, I was actually meant to judge the WNBF show, which was the week later. And I had to call Martin like 4 weeks out and just say, hey, what are your thoughts on me competing and not judging the show? Because it was always the plan to just judge that one. And he's just like, great, that's fine. So he was the one that obviously knew a bit earlier because I'd sort of said to him, hey.
You had the commitment to it, yeah.
Yeah, I had to sort of say that I can't judge. So I went up to Queensland and I actually didn't like, the first time I told Buff that I was competing was we were leaving the NBA Vic show. And I said to him, like, we're literally leaving, him and his family were there. And I said, hey, I'm also competing this weekend. See you up there. And something like that. And I was like, see you later. I'll see you up there. Which was then kind of nice. And it got to that point where it was just like, I don't feel the need to present my physique in terms of on socials. I didn't need to send check-in photos. I just found that it was something along the lines of, I don't know, I wanted to show a stark difference between, maybe my last competition season and now, and, posting my physique every single week wasn't going to see that because everyone, you see physique every single week. It sort of, loses its, I don't know, punch, or it loses its,
its value. Yeah.
Its value. And I also felt like if I could grow my business without doing that, don't necessarily need to do that.
Yeah.
So the first show was the NBA Nationals up on the Gold Coast. So we flew up, made a bit of a family trip of it for a couple of days, which was nice. I was nervous because there's dusting off the cobwebs. Hadn't competed in well, it was only been 18 months, 19 months since I'd competed prior. But just, that uncertainty of knowing, am I ready? Am I not ready? I'd received zero validation from any social media posts. You think about that, Julian, right now, like how many people are saying you're fucking shredded right now? Whereas at that point, I'm just like, am I even lean? Am I even ready? Like, what's happening here? I mean, in retrospect, I was lean, but I wasn't definitely shredded, that's for sure. So I was able to bring a somewhat decent physique to stage, which I was happy with. And that was sort of we knew it was an early show, so there was no issues with that. And then bounced back down to Melbourne, did WMBF. Unfortunately, wasn't like that was probably the one that I was most unhappy with the physique that I brought, because I just knew that there was more left in the tank. And you always hate to bring a physique that you're not quite ready looking. And I hate it when people say it's a warm-up show and that kind of jazz, because like you always want to come in at your best. But unfortunately probably didn't quite nail that one. And again, it was just time, and we knew that. And then between that and the NPC big show, there was 5 weeks, I think. And that's where I was like, okay, we know we need to get peeled here. So we got peeled. And that was the aim over that 5-week duration. Which was cool. And then 3 weeks after that, did the NPC Nationals as well. So we got even sharper for that. And then obviously made the trip over to Toronto, which was, I don't want to say it was a spur of the moment decision to go do that show, but it was sort of like, I felt like if I'd finished my season in Melbourne, 20 minutes from home, it would have been slightly anticlimactic. And this was the thought process. And I was saying this to Olivia throughout the decision-making process as to whether we would go to Toronto or do another show externally or interstate or overseas. It was sort of like, we finished last year in Boston. That was pretty freaking cool. What are we doing this time? I don't know. I just felt like there was a bit of a void that would have been missed if I didn't go and do something else. So there's actually there was the WMBF Malaysia over this weekend. I don't know if you boys saw much of that. That was obviously a consideration if I was to do that.
Yep.
But then I thought, let's go to Toronto. Let's go do the NPC IFBB Pro Qualifier over there. See what it's like. It's 1 week later after the national show. Gives us some time to travel over there as well. Step on a 24-hour flight 24 hours after stepping off stage. But hey, we'll roll with the punches there. So yeah, it was a hella season. 5 shows. Couldn't have asked much more after a bit of a short secret prep.
I like how you really just glossed over the fact that you won your first pro show with NBA. Like you just didn't even mention it.
Yeah, say.
Let's go after dusting off the cobwebs, and he takes out the pro show win. Like it just.
Yeah, it's funny that like, and this is actually I'm glad you brought that up actually, because whilst I was happy, of course, I'm stoked to have won that.
Yeah.
I wasn't as happy because I didn't bring a look that I thought that was an 80% look of me. That was a 70% look of me, which is no knock on anyone else that had competed. It was more so internally in myself.
Yeah.
I couldn't care less about the result versus the look that I bring to stage. 100%. It was the same as the like the IFBB shows, which is sort of like, yes, I may not have won, but I brought a physique that I'm like, fuck, I couldn't have done much more. Yeah. I brought a physique I'm so happy with that it's sort of like, well, the result will be what it is. I'm so happy with the look, as opposed to getting a win when you're like, wasn't quite the physique that I was after.
But on the same token, it was a very early show, and like it wasn't exactly the plan of show. Like your look from NBA Nationals compared to your Toronto look are very, very different, because that was your goal.
It's time. Yeah. But I think that's so important, especially for younger competitors to hear, because 100%. That's definitely come from your time in the game and your time in the sport. Like I'm sure back in 2019, you wouldn't have had that mentality. You would have been like, fuck yeah, win. I don't even care if I was a little bit watery. I'm happy with that. But having that mentality of the accolades aren't necessarily what you're doing it for. The little gold thing with a ribbon isn't necessarily what you're doing it for. It's to present a physique that you are proud of and that you're happy with.
Yeah, like all of those, whatever trophies will be sitting up there, collecting dust up in these cupboards up here. The medals, the trophies are relevant. to me. It's more so, the experiences that you achieve, like even the example of like after I won that, that pro show at NBA, like the moments of, being backstage, Finley was there, Olivia was there, and then I went back to watch Booth win his pro card after that. His family was there. We went out for dinner that night, going backstage, Riley's there, we crack them on. So like shit like that, you're like, those are the memories, those are the things that I value more than the trophy or, the medal or whatever it is. Yes, they're a nice byproduct of it, but those are the things that I value much more and you'll remember. Like these trophies, great and all, you'll sit in collect some dust for a while. But yeah, they're the things that the memories are the things that you'll remember more.
I was going to say, I still remember the interview with MG on stage when you were with Liv and obviously Finley, and backtrack to when you were on stage, winning your pro card with obviously just Liv and obviously Finley still inside. Like it's awesome to see that the transition and having that moment with them, and like you said, you'll take that with you for the rest of your life.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's the people you do it with. It's the people that you surround yourself with. It's the family. It's those kind of things that, makes it so much worthwhile. Cause if I was doing this solo, like it would be quite isolating, I think. So to be having the support and the people around you, like both, it just means so much more.
It takes a village.
Exactly.
100%. Now, we did touch on the fact that you did compete in Canada this year. You also competed at WMBF Worlds in 2024. Speak about your experience in terms of competing overseas in comparison to competing in Australia. What was that like? Was that the highlight of your season as well, would you say?
I would definitely, I'll probably say, yeah, it was. I used both, so obviously both of them were with different federations. Boston with WMBF, Toronto was with NPC, IFBB. Very different, very, very different. So I'll go back to Boston and reflect on that because the time there was just incredible. Think about landing in the country on a Monday, being like, it's peak week. We're in Boston. It's bloody cold. AJ had just come in, everyone across the world in natural bodybuilding has just come into the country. It is just unimaginable. Like Gym Hub Boston, which was in central Boston, which is actually Jose Raymond's gym. Incredible. Like all of the best athletes that you can think of were in that gym. Like Babacar was in there. Like Dirk was in there. And I'm just like, maybe I won't take my top off and focus off. Hey AJ, why don't we go into the back room, and that's where you can have a look at me in the not just in the middle of the gym floor.
Keep the hoodie and trackies on.
Yeah, absolutely. But just even that experience, let's wake up, take check-in photos, drink our Starbucks, and be like, all right, what's the plan of attack for today? Like all of those kind of things. Just living like a bodybuilder for a week in a contest prep, peaking for a show in a different country. Yes, you're probably in step jail. Like you can't be doing too many steps around as much as you want to explore different countries. In terms of the show itself, I can't remember the exact amount of competitors at WMBF Worlds, but there was, I think, about 60 countries represented. As an example, in my category, which was the light heavies? Might have been a light heavyweight. The top 5, I think all of them were different countries being represented.
That's cool.
The guy that won was Italian. I think there was an American in there. There might have been a German, but then across the board, you got people from Israel, Brazil, every single country that you can think of, there was probably someone from there. Yeah. It was wild. Backstage, I'm just like, what language are you speaking? What language are you speaking? What language are you like? But then you just connect based on being, all in bodybuilding. You're just there to have a good time and step up on stage. So Boston was an incredible experience, and being there with some of the best athletes that you can imagine. You almost then can't, you standing in the tanning tents and just seeing those other athletes, you're just like, fuck, am I seriously going to have to stand up against you tomorrow? So yeah, Boston was awesome. And WMBF, like they absolutely ran us through the ringer there in terms of posing, quarter turns. Like I reckon I was on stage for half an hour. Like it was that long. Like I reckon we went through 4 or 5 rounds of quarter turns before we even got into the muscularity round. Anyway, fast forward to Toronto. So obviously the NPC, IFBB, they do, this is the first time I've ever done it, they do pre-judge and finals. So I've never experienced that before. Obviously every single show in Australia is just straight through format. WMF Worlds was also a straight through format. So I think there was about 260, 270 athletes in that show. 400 plus with crossover, 450 maybe with crossover. I'll probably get mixed up the numbers, but it was a lot. It was a lot of people. Fortunately, bodybuilding's first up. Show started at 8 a.m. I was at the venue at a ridiculous hour that you don't ever want to know what time that was. And I was up at a ridiculous hour. You don't want to know what time that was. So I reckon I was done by about 9:30, but I was in both novice and light heavyweight. And from a posing perspective, they really didn't do many rounds there. Like we went through 1 round in each.
Okay.
Like as an example, like we were not on stage long.
And then it's like, get out.
Pretty much. And picture this, we're at it's almost like a conference center. Like a conference center near the airport in Toronto. So most athletes actually stay at the venue. So therefore you can just go back to your venue between pre-judge and finals and just sit there back and just sit in your hotel room or whatever. Unfortunately, where we were staying was about half an hour out or back into Toronto. So I thought, I'm just going to park myself here in the hotel lobby just about, try and get some sleep, do some check-ins because it was actually check-in day on a Saturday. But had an incredible experience and then came back for finals at 4 or 5 p.m. Unfortunately, they didn't even judge finals. So it was sort of like, I'm not sure why we didn't do this in the morning, but again, that's secondary to the point.
So they just gave you placings out and said, there you go.
Yeah, did your routine and give your placings out. So I'm not quite sure why we didn't do that in the morning. But again, thankfully, bodybuilding was first up. So we're done by 5, 6 p.m. I don't, envy the fit model and the bikini because I was getting the notifications and they were going till 11:30 p.m. And you sort of think, 8 till 11:30 p.m. a show. So like, I reckon we can. What's that? But either way, the show, like there was also a bit of an expo attached to it as well in the conference center, which was cool. It was heaving. There was so many people around. An incredible, show spectacle. Obviously there was the live stream, there was the really good photos, the footage and all of that. So a different experience to Boston and Worlds, but equally very enjoyable. So yeah, it was quite the whirlwind.
Wow, that's incredible. So in terms of like actually being on stage, how long over the Toronto show do you reckon you were actually on stage being judged?
10 minutes sub.
Wow. That's wild. And like, I guess the reason I'm asking is purely for the fact that if you do this for, jumping on stage, you do an entire prep for 10 minutes on stage, then I think, your why definitely needs to be questioned because, it's a lot of trade-off for a very small amount of showtime.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when I rewatched the live stream and screen recorded it just for my info, I was just like, that's not a long time. That's okay.
Yeah, look, I don't think we need to ask you which experience you preferred. I think that's quite clear.
No, you can read between the lines.
At least so, like the fact that you were still able to enjoy Toronto after prep, and I mean, by looking at your Instagram as well, the foods that you ate afterwards, they look pretty good.
Yeah,
you prick.
But just remember, it's no food tastes as good as you think it does, and it will always be there. 100%. Whether it's next week,
correct,
the week after, or next year, it's always going to be there.
I love the fact that even still on the flight home, you had your chicken rice ready, prepared.
Chicken rice zucchini.
What else am I going to eat?
Exactly, I loved it. I was like, this is perfect.
All right. Well, now that we've unpacked that, let's get into some future goals, Nick. Give us one competitive. Give me one competitive future goal and one in terms of coaching.
Yep. Goals in terms of competing, I do feel like I've got unfinished business in WMBF. I would love to get back over to Worlds. I would love to step in the pro ranks at Worlds, be on the Sunday in the pro show, whether I win my pro card at Worlds or whether I win it in Australia. I feel like at my best, I can do that. Whether it's in, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine in terms of when I will compete again. I'm not sure when the time is right, both personally and from a family perspective, it has to make sense.
Yep.
So it absolutely will not be 2027. Will it be 2028 or 2029? Not sure. So we'll cross that bridge when we get there. And I'm also curious to see is what the NPC IFBB do in terms of the natural scene and what that looks like, firstly from a testing as well as from an international show perspective. So I think the pull of WMBF is the international ability to compete overseas.
Correct.
And I think that really resonates with me. I know everyone competes for different reasons, but to be competing overseas, I think really is something that I would try and do every single time I compete. So, whether it's, Worlds or whether it is, an IFBB NPC natural show at some point, not quite sure. Again, the timing has to line up. From a coaching perspective, honestly, it's just growing the business and refining what I do. And I say grow the business, but not just in terms of numbers on paper, in terms of clients. It's more so
Quality of athlete.
The quality of athlete and the delivery of service for myself.
Yeah.
So I want to still uphold my service and deliver it in the best way possible, but continue to level up that. And that's how you attract better athletes. That's how you put your clients on stage in better shape, in better condition, in a better spot. So I think that's overarching for me is continue doing what I'm doing, but just continue leveling up in every element and not obviously being complacent about it. So I don't just want to sit here and say, hey, I've got X amount of clients and keep churning those out. That's not what I want. I want to keep leveling up from a skill perspective and seeing where that takes me. And hopefully, like I said earlier, take a big team to all Victorian shows that are applicable and be a really good, natural bodybuilding coach across the board. So I'm pumped. I'm excited for this year, next year. And, the fact that, maybe I've got athletes who are going to step on stage season C 2027 already. That's exciting for me to know that I've got those already mapped out for them. I just can't wait for the next 12 months. And I know it's a time thing for me, and I just need to be patient with it all as opposed to rushing the process, because I know that's where you lead to not just burnout, but you then lead to businesses not being able to uphold the processes and the quality of service.
100%.
Awesome.
Now, Timsy, you did have a question that you wanted to ask before our road get to know you questions. Did you want to ask that one?
100%. So I would want to know, what is one piece of advice that you would give your younger self? I know it's a very generic question, but like if you could, especially, our podcast is based around obviously Pang and I, just starting in the industry in terms of coaching and really bodybuilding. Like compared to you, we're still very, very young bodybuilders. So what's something for us and also for our viewers that you might have told yourself younger that would make you a better bodybuilder, better coach, better person?
I would probably say just enjoy each process and each time and each phase that you're in. So it might be quite simple. So like whatever phase you're in, you want to be so quick to get to the next level. You want to get so quick to the next level. Like for someone who might be just starting out, might be like, I just want to get to where you're at right now. It's like, well, you need to enjoy each phase and understand the different processes that come with it before you can get to maybe a 10-year natural bodybuilder or whatnot. So enjoy each phase and take it as it's come, and don't try and rush the process, because that's where I see people fall out of love with the process and fall out of love with bodybuilding, training, nutrition, whatever that looks like. They fall out of love with it because they don't actually enjoy what they're doing. And what I find is that, people do they actually really enjoy bodybuilding, or are they just doing it for a time and place to achieve that, that shiny object just in the short-term future? Like, yes, what we do now in terms of competing is great, but what are you doing in 5 years, 10 years time? So understand that, as opposed to the people that compete. Like, maybe when you first competed in 2020, Riley, is that like, how many of those people are still competing now, still in the gym?
Mm.
Like, what are they doing now? Like, that's the sign of longevity in this game, and knowing that there's not just a short term compete and we, done from there. Like, it's funny. I was actually talking to someone at the gym recently about, people competing and thinking the last thing that they want to do after a show is get back into the gym. But that's the first thing that we want to do.
100%.
Yeah.
I trained after every single show. Like, it's
And it's like we compete because we train.
100%.
As opposed to training because we compete.
To compete. Yeah.
Yeah, like the amount of people that will compete and then it's like they won't be in the gym for 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, fuck that.
Yeah, that's not what we're about. So in a roundabout way, to answer the advice question, it's enjoy each process, take it as it comes, and don't try and rush the process.
Well said, man. That was
I think
fantastic.
that's very well said. Even with like me working with Gen Pop clients, I have to remind a few of them every now and again. Like, I think the idea of having a logbook is great, and I think the idea of tracking your calories is a really, really good way to get a specific result. Some people do get too hunkered down in the numbers part of it though, and they're either trying to rush progressions when they're not there, or they don't get progressions for a couple of weeks and they get really down on themselves. Sometimes people just need that reminder of, remember what got you to the dance. Remember that you actually enjoy training. Remember that you enjoy eating healthy because it makes you feel good at certain parts of your process, whether that is competitive bodybuilding, whether that's bodybuilding in an off season, or whether that's just training for enjoyment. You're going to need little reminders of, this is meant to be fun. This is meant to be the thing that you enjoy doing, not, I've just got to go and do my training. I've just got to do my meal prep. I've got to track all this. It's like, you are meant to still enjoy this process. And like you say, Nick, that gives you longevity in training and longevity in the sport.
Yep, spot on.
All right, let's round us out, Timsy. So we do have a road get to know you question each for you, Nick. So to explain this one, mate, this is a concept that I came up with a few years ago of questions that tell me a lot about you as a person without telling me anything about you as a person. So, Timsy, do you want to go first or do you want me to go first?
No, you take it away, mate. Yeah.
All right. So, Nick, as we've talked about, you are a family man, you are a dad, you've got another one on the way, mate. What I want to know from you is the top 3 TV shows, cartoon or otherwise, that you are going to educate Finley and your future child on.
Oh, that's a really good one. Like, what do I want him to watch is probably the key. And again, do we have an age that we want to talk? Like, is there a certain point?
You can introduce it at any point. There's no restriction. But like, obviously you've got your staples that are around nowadays, like Bluey and Paw Patrol.
Yeah.
But what are you bringing? What's old school that you're going to be like, listen, son, sit down and watch this?
I was thinking more South Park.
Wait, I thought it was a given.
I was as growing up, Simpsons was always very big for me, but then transitioned into Family Guy. That's definitely a security question, as my favorite cartoon would be Family Guy.
Okay.
Other shows that I would say are quote unquote binge worthy would be like a Big Bang Theory or a The Office. The Office is probably a good one that I would try and educate him on. That's a really good one. Maybe like a Breaking Bad.
Ooh.
Yes.
In my opinion, the best show ever.
Ooh, big call.
The best show ever.
Big call.
I'm just sorry, just had to repeat that. That's in my view the best.
Yeah.
So if I was to cone it down to more a drama kind of show, Breaking Bad, more a comedy show, I would say The Office. An animated show, I'd probably say Family Guy. So that would probably be my 3.
Very good. I like it. Timsy, you'll go.
Wait, as in, am I answering or am I asking my road?
Oh yeah, you can answer if you want.
I didn't know.
Let's do that. Yeah. What show are you going to look at your future children with?
Oh well, I mean, I would say Game of Thrones. That's the best show ever. That is the best show.
We can all have an opinion there. That's what I mean. Breaking Bad doesn't have a single bad episode.
Okay, you are right. I will give you that. Game of Thrones last 2 seasons dropped the ball, but yeah. Well, I'll give you that 100%. You can take that one. It's a very good show, but yeah.
Yeah.
And then I was always a Big Bang Theory one. I think my brother and I binge watched that all the time. I was actually never really allowed to watch Simpsons growing up.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I had that as well.
It was one of the shows that I was like
6 p.m. on Channel 10.
Was not allowed. Like,
yeah, I snuck it in. I could sneak in like 15
100%.
minutes, and then my mum would come in. What are you doing watching that?
100%. And like I said a few weeks ago, How I Met Your Mother is another good one there. Definitely a good one. What about yourself,
Yeah,
Pang?
I agree. You guys have gone very much older. I was going like children's cartoons, but I reckon How I Met Your Mother is definitely in there. For me, I would also go with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for sure. Specifically the 2003 one. That's niche for all my nerdy dudes. And then I'm gonna go with it's either like Batman, the original animated series, or no, actually that's it. That's
So
it.
you're watching that now, aren't you?
I am watching that now. My Saturday morning cartoon tradition, boys, bringing it back. So How I Met Your Mother, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and Batman animated.
Very, very good. Well, I guess I'll jump on with my Road Get to Know You, and my one's food related because Julian's been missing it, so I thought I'd bring it back.
Thanks, mate.
You're welcome, mate. What food becomes weirdly elite when you deep into prep?
Funny you should say that. I had this comment last night to Olivia. Is this more favorite? Like, would it always be your favorite cheat meal, or like favorite off plan, or like
spin it however you want. Yeah.
In my opinion, this is the best like off plan food or the best food. Hot chips.
Ooh,
interesting. As a main food.
Yeah, I mean you can pair it with whatever a protein sauce or whatever you want, and Bob's your uncle. Like you get a really good, well cooked chip, well seasoned chip.
Chicken salt or regular?
Chicken salt. Yep.
I feel like it was offended you even asked that.
From a good charcoal chicken place, 10 out of 10. And I said, like, we went last night, and that's the first time we've been there to this charcoal chicken shop. Just get your big box of chips. You can do some grilled chicken, a bit of a salad on the side. That's all I need. So I'm going to say hot chips because you can just go in so many good ways. If you get a good place, spot on.
What about you, Pang?
Well, the way I interpreted that question was not off plan, but off plan meal.
I was going to say, well, even in prep, like something that you have in prep that you won't have in the off season because it doesn't taste as good.
Yeah.
However you want. There's no it's a road get to know you. It tells me more about you than.
I've definitely got that one. It's
Nick, go on that. Let me think.
My rest day prep breakfast was chicken and egg whites. So I called that my what came first breakfast. So like that, like egg whites, won't touch them in the off season.
Yeah.
And like this is like crack your eggs, make your egg whites, take out the yolks. Yeah, but when the fats are low, you can't really afford those fats. So you do it literally an egg white omelette with a side of chicken, and that's what came first breakfast. And I wouldn't touch an egg white in an off season.
Yeah.
But in a prep, that's getting you through those mornings.
It's all right. I've got mine. I'm back now. Mine's not a particular food in prep that gets used more, but it's actually chocolate flavoring. So chocolate flavored whey protein, I'm not massive on. I'm like, it's okay, but it doesn't really like hit. In prep, it's amazing. And I will just like hound down like chocolate flavored whey protein. Like I'll drink it. I'll do it as a whey paste. Absolutely love it. Once I get into an off season setting, for some reason, I'm just like, I don't care for it. I need something like either vanilla or like a cinnamon cereal or a Biscoff, like something around that sort of realm. Yeah. Off-plan meal that I'm craving. It changes every prep, but it's baked goods.
Ooh.
So it is like a blueberry muffin, a almond croissant, like a pastry, like something along those lines. And one story that I always tell is for NBA Nationals in 2024, which was in Brisbane. We were staying a little bit further out of the city, but the place that I would walk to go get coffee in the morning. So me and my partner, Danny, were staying around this place, and I would always go walk to get a little bit of steps in. I would go get the coffees, come back. It was a patisserie. It was like a full French patisserie, and I'm walking into this place, and they've just unveiled all these baguettes, these croissants, the smell of pastry, butter, and I'm there like, fuck this! I've got another 2 weeks to go. I'm just there crying. Can I get 2 long blacks, please? They're like, what's wrong with you?
That's good. That's a very good answer.
Timsy, give it to us, mate.
Mine is Cheerios and strawberries. So in prep, I love fresh strawberries, like absolutely love them. Whereas like, as opposed in the off season, I won't, like, I could care less. Like I'll have frozen strawberries. That does not bother me. And Cheerio, I don't know why, like Cheerio, because I used to have, on my high days, I used to have like a Cheerio, basically like smoothie bowl where I'd like blend up yogurt and strawberries and water into a shake, put it with my Cheerios and kind of have like a Cheerio breakfast. Cannot do that in the off season. Just will not touch it. Like it just doesn't sit right. I was like, I just can't do it. It just, it's wild. So that's definitely my one. And then I'd say for the off-plan meal, I'm a sucker for like a wood fire pizza.
Yeah,
nice wood fire. It's just hard to beat. It's so good. So
what toppings are you going for?
I'm always a meat lovers, but I don't mind a chicken barbecue. Or if I'm feeling bland, I'll just get a margarita.
Yeah, nice.
Wow. Oh no, what?
That I can't. No.
Very rare occurrence, but like if it's
See, my philosophy with pizza is that simpler is better, but margarita is just like
sauce and bread.
No, you can't be doing that. You need something.
Yeah,
you need pepperoni at least.
It's 99% of the time it's a meat lovers because I'm a sucker for the salami, for the sausage.
Yeah, you are.
You know it.
All right, well, that is going to round us out for today. Nick, I will give you an opportunity to plug yourself, mate. Tell us where to go if we are after any coaching, Instagram, YouTube. Give it to us.
Thank you. Actually, before I do, well, I'd just like to say, I don't think I mentioned to both of you, but when I sent you a message about saying loving the podcast and listening to it, I was actually, fun fact, was listening to these on my commute from Toronto to Pure Muscle and Fitness. Had you boys on the potty, just listening that on the sort of 45-minute to an hour journey down there, shout out you boys for making that journey a bit nicer. Just hearing some Aussie podcast voices. It was nice to hear.
I was about to say, you did divulge that you had a decent sleep on the flight over, and I was like, oh, maybe that's why we put him to sleep on for 10 hours.
You had the potty in and then after you
No, don't worry. I'm not sleeping through you boys' podcast, so never worry. In terms of where you can find me, IG at Nick Hanna Fit. You can find me, send me a message if you are interested in coaching or you just want to shoot the shit, follow along for some free content. Also, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Just search Nick Hanna on YouTube. We're almost at 1,500 subscribers. So if you want to be up there in the amount of subscribers, tune in. And in terms of the Toronto vlogs, the first one is released at 5 p.m. tonight, which will already be released, I'm sure, when this podcast comes out. And I've got, I've probably got at least 10 Canada vlogs. I'm just trying to count now. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 different Toronto vlogs, pre and post show. So if you want to see the peak week, you want to see the show day, you want to see the post show eating, jump across to the YouTube, subscribe, and enjoy some of these videos. Go for close to an hour. So if you're doing cardio, pop them on 1.5 speed and you'll be able to enjoy it.
I will be watching all but one of those videos. We'll leave the other one for later. All right. Thank you very much for joining us, Nick. And thank you, everyone, for listening. As usual, subscribe to the YouTube channel if that's where you consume our content, or leave us a rating on Spotify. Feel free to follow the page on Instagram as well at BTP_podcast. Till next time, boys. Thank you very much. Thanks, Nick.
Cheers, boys. Thanks for having me.
All right, mate. Thanks for coming on.